Finally, Amber Cox is doing some sort of work around here. Finally, I don't know if somebody had to knock on the office window. I don't know what happened, but something happened, and she finally woke up and started getting a little bit of damn work done. Shout out to Roberta, who had this on X. Monique Billings took a meeting with the New York Liberty, but should sign with the Indiana Fever, I'm being told. Hashtag WNBA free agent.
Finally, after weeks of silence that had Fever fans checking their phones every 10 minutes, Amber Cox just made a move that changes everything for Caitlin Clark's second season. And the chemistry already exists. These two have played together. They know each other's game. This isn't a gamble on potential. This is plugging in a proven connection.
This is what it is. Shout out to Roberta on this one, man. Monique Billings appears to be signing with the Indiana Fever, and we could already see the chemistry she had with Caitlin Clark at Team USA. Okay, she understood her role. She knew how to finish out of the pick and roll. All of that good stuff that we was looking for from our starting power forward last season that was talking about winning MVPs and all types of nonsense. Hopefully that is dead, but we are not for certain yet. Okay, we're not for certain that Natasha Howard won't be back. That's the last thing.
Monique Billings to the Indiana Fever. Let that sink in for a second. The New York Liberty wanted her. They took a meeting. She chose Indiana instead. When was the last time a quality free agent picked the Fever over a championship contender? That doesn't happen by accident. Something is shifting in Indianapolis, and it's not subtle. Now here's what makes this signing brilliant. Billings isn't just some veteran looking for a paycheck. At Team USA training camp, while Caitlin Clark was running the offense and winning MVP honors, Billings was her pick-and-roll partner. They built that chemistry in real game situations against elite competition. The reads are already...
I think this is going to be beautiful, y'all. This is going to be beautiful, but there's still much more work to do. I still want to sign another big. We need to sign another big, okay? Let's take a look at this right here, man. Monique Billings, Caitlin Clark in the pick and roll. I can see it already. Look at that. Good screen. That's a good physical screen. Great bounce pass from the GOAT. And the finish. Left hand through contact and one for Monique Billings. We're going to be getting a lot of that. Look at it. We're going to be getting a lot of this two-man action.
Watch that screen. That's a physical NBA quality screen that actually creates separation. Then look at the finish. Left hand through contact for the and one. That's exactly what the Fever were missing last season when their starting power forward was too busy worrying about her own MVP campaign to do the dirty work. Billings averaged 9 points and 7 rebounds for the Phoenix Mercury last season. Not spectacular numbers, but here's what matters. She shot 51% from the field and 74% from the free throw line. Efficient, doesn't force anything, knows her role and executes it. She can step out to 15 feet and hit the mid-range jumper, which means defenses can't just pack the paint when she's on the floor with Aaliyah Boston. But the real value is what she brings defensively. Billings has the strength to bang with traditional post players and the lateral quickness to switch onto guards in pick-and-roll coverage. At 6'3" with a 7-foot wingspan, she can protect the rim without being a traditional shot blocker. That versatility is exactly what Stephanie White needs to run the switching defense she wants to implement.
Solid backup player. I think she was starting at times for the Connecticut Sun. She can play this game. I think she's good enough to come in and, you know, spell Caitlin Clark 8 to 10 minutes a game. Okay, come in for that 8 to 12 minutes at 12 minutes at the most, and give some quality minutes as a backup point guard. Like I already said, I didn't want Ari McDonald back. She's always hurt. She's never got through a season healthy. I didn't want Odyssey Sims back. I didn't want neither one of them back. I can live with this Ty Harris.
And then there's Ty Harris, another Stephanie White connection, which honestly makes some people nervous given how the whole bring in my former players strategy worked out last season. But here's the difference. Harris isn't being asked to start. She's not being positioned as some critical piece. She's a backup point guard who can give Caitlin Clark 8 to 12 minutes of rest without the offense completely falling apart. Harris played for the Connecticut Sun last season, started 21 games, and averaged 6 points and 3 assists while shooting 34% from 3. Those aren't numbers that jump off the page, but they're solid for a backup. More importantly, she takes care of the basketball. Just 1.7 turnovers per game despite handling significant minutes in Connecticut's system. Compare that to what the Fever had last year. Erica Wheeler was constantly injured and never made it through a season healthy in her entire career. Odyssey Sims was Well, let's just say she wasn't the right fit. The Fever needed someone who could run the offense competently for short stretches, hit an open three when defenses ignore her, and not turn the ball over 3 times in 8 minutes. Harris can do that.
The backup point guard to Caitlin Clark. All we need is somebody that can keep the ship steady, okay? But hey, Ty Harris and Monique Billings, I'm all in for that. I'm happy with that move. We still got to get Lexi Hall. We need all 6 Lexi Halls back. We got to get Sophie Cunningham, the blonde bomber, back. They are vital pieces to this team. We want Tres Leches all the way back in full effect. Now, in other news around the league, Jordan Canada inked the 2-year deal with the Atlanta Dream. I'm trying to figure out where the hell is Atlanta getting all this money from? Are y'all sponsored by Amigos? What's going on? How is Atlanta Dream signing all these people for all this money? Is Ryan Howard about to be playing on a minimum? Where's the money?
But let's talk about what's still missing. Because 2 signings don't fix everything. The Fever still need another big body. Aaliyah Boston and Damiris Dantas aren't enough frontcourt depth when you look at what Atlanta just assembled. The Dream have Angel Reese, Bri Jones, and Naz Hillman. That's 3 physical, rebounding-focused forwards who can rotate and keep fresh legs on the floor for 40 minutes. Indiana needs to match that. Billings helps, absolutely. But what happens when Boston picks up 2 fouls in the first quarter? What happens when Billings needs a breather after battling in the post for 6 straight minutes? The Fever need one more veteran big who can give quality minutes, set hard screens, and rebound. Someone like Natasha Mack or Kalani Brown. Players who understand their role and won't cause chemistry issues trying to do too much. And then there's the wing situation. Lexi Hull has to come back. She's a restricted free agent, which means Indiana can match any offer, but they need to actually do it. Hull shot 34% from 3 last season and played solid perimeter defense. She's exactly the kind of 3-and-D wing that fits perfectly next to Caitlin Clark. Losing her would be inexcusable. Sophie Cunningham is the other priority. The blonde bomber can get hot from 3 and isn't afraid of the moment. She also brings an edge, a toughness that the Fever desperately need. Too often last season, Indiana got pushed around physically.
What is going to be left for Ryan Howard? I'm interested to see what's about to happen with that, because I'm confused on where's the money at. Like, this is kind of crazy, okay? Jordan Canada, definitely a good point guard, really good defender, can keep the ship steady for the Atlanta Dream at the point guard spot. She will be back in the fold. Brittany Griner is headed to the Connecticut Sun. This is big news around the league. It was going to be very interesting to see what was left for Brittany Griner. She kind of was relegated to a bench role with the Atlanta Dream on the back half of the season. So I figure she might be on the.
Meanwhile, around the league, money is flying in directions that don't make sense. Jordan Canada signs a 2-year deal with the Atlanta Dream. Brittany Griner heads to the Connecticut Sun after being relegated to a bench role in Phoenix. The Las Vegas Aces are running it back with their entire core, Chelsea Gray on a multi-year deal, Derica Hamby returning on a 3-year contract, Jackie Young on a 1-year prove-it deal, and Aja Wilson locked in long-term. But Atlanta is the team that's confusing everyone. They gave Alisha Gray a 3-year max contract. They traded for Angel Reese and presumably paid her. They signed Bri Jones and Naz Hillman to significant deals. Now they're adding Jordan Canada. Where is all this money coming from? Is Chick-fil-A sponsoring the entire roster? Did they find a bag of cash in the new arena? The WNBA salary cap for 2025 is projected around $1.4 million per team. Atlanta is spending like they're operating under NBA rules. Either they're structuring these contracts in extremely creative ways, or Ryan Howard is about to be playing on a veteran minimum deal, which seems unlikely given she's one of the best young wings in the league. Something doesn't add up, and when the numbers don't make sense, it usually means someone is getting squeezed. My guess? Role players are going to get lowball offers while the stars eat up all the cap space. That's how you end up with a top-heavy roster that has no depth, which is exactly what killed teams like Phoenix last season when injuries hit.
Jewel Lloyd is back on a 3-year deal. Jackie Young is back on a 1-year deal. Aja Wilson is back. They're bringing their core back. and they're going to try to run this whole thing back and win another title. But this right here is the major news. Monique Billings headed to the Indiana Fever. Apparently, we had to get into this. I'm excited for this. This is great news for Caitlin Clark. Get down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. This is Keep the Vision.
Here's what it all means for Indiana. The Fever are building something sustainable. They're not throwing max contracts at every available name. They're not mortgaging the future for one championship window. They're adding pieces that fit Caitlin Clark's timeline, players who complement her strengths and cover her weaknesses. Monique Billings gives them a versatile forward who can finish in the pick and roll, defend multiple positions, and doesn't need plays called for her. Ty Harris provides competent backup point guard play without demanding a starting role or significant offensive usage. These are smart, targeted additions that address specific needs without creating new problems. But the work isn't done. The Fever still need to re-sign their own free agents, particularly Lexi Hull and Sophie Cunningham. They need to add one more big body to compete with the front-court depth that teams like Atlanta and New York are assembling. And they need to make a decision about Natasha Howard, who hopefully is not coming back because watching her bring the ball up the court instead of giving it to the point guard was painful for an entire season. The foundation is there. Caitlin Clark is a generational talent who just won Rookie of the Year while dragging a dysfunctional team to the playoffs. Aaliyah Boston is a legitimate two-way center who can score, rebound, and protect the rim. Nalissa Smith, despite her flaws, is still a productive scorer when used correctly. Add Billings, Harris, and hopefully Hull and Cunningham, and you've got a roster that can legitimately compete for a top 4 seed. But here's the reality check. The Las Vegas Aces are reloading with championship experience. The New York Liberty just made the finals and are bringing back their core. The Minnesota Lynx have Nafisa Collier and are building around her. The Connecticut Sun added Brittany Griner to a team that already had DeWanna Bonner and Alyssa Thomas. And Atlanta, despite their confusing salary cap situation, has assembled a collection of talent that's going to be extremely difficult to match up against. The Fever are improved, significantly improved, but improved enough to win a championship in year 2 of the Caitlin Clark era? That's asking a lot. More realistic is building toward a second-round playoff appearance, establishing a winning culture, and positioning the team to make a real run in 2026 when Clark is in her prime and the supporting cast has had time to develop chemistry. The Monique Billings signing is exactly the kind of move that builds toward that future. It's not flashy, it won't generate highlight reels or sell jerseys, but it's the type of smart, strategic roster construction that separates good teams from mediocre ones. And after years of watching the Fever make questionable decisions, it's refreshing to see them actually get something right. So where does this leave us? Cautiously optimistic. The Fever are making moves that make sense. They're targeting players who fit their system and their timeline. They're not overpaying for name recognition or trying to force a championship window that doesn't exist yet. That's progress. Now they need to finish the job. Bring back Hull and Cunningham. Add one more big. Make the hard decision on Howard. And give Stephanie White the roster she needs to implement her system without having to compromise because of personnel limitations. Do that, and the Fever could surprise people next season. Because here's the thing about Caitlin Clark. She makes everyone around her better. We saw it at Iowa. We saw it at Team USA. And we saw flashes of it in Indiana, despite playing with a roster that wasn't built for her strengths. Give her actual NBA caliber role players who understand how to play off a dynamic point guard, and the ceiling gets a lot higher. Monique Billings and Ty Harris are those kinds of players. They've been in winning situations. They know how to contribute without needing the spotlight, and most importantly, they already have chemistry with Clark from their time together. That's not something you can teach or develop in training camp. That's plug-and-play value from day one. So yeah, finally, Amber Cox is doing some work. Finally, the Fever are making moves that actually make sense. And finally, Caitlin Clark is getting the kind of supporting cast she deserves. It's not perfect yet, there's still work to do. But for the first time in a long time, Indiana fans have legitimate reason to believe that management understands what they have and is building around it intelligently. That's worth celebrating, even if the championship parade is still a few years away.